but my goal is to keep these between 20 and 25 minutes long, no longer than that. Everybody's got things to do, and everybody. We don't want to beat a dead horse type of thing. So we're going to start off this webinar with the ARCA cabinets. A lot of you might be familiar with them as ARCA IEC, but about a month ago or so, we had a number of reps, principals in the office, and we got a good suggestion from them that maybe we kind of soften the IEC end of it for North American continent, maybe just kind of move away from it a little bit. So we're going to kind of distance ourselves from that. So what there's going to be now is the ARCA JIC, which everybody knows, which is North American product, and then this is going to be the ARCA, just plain ARCA is what we're going to call it. And so that everybody it does help to distance it from the IEC moniker and push away a little bit from the European style. Although that's what it is, it's still going to be something. That's how we're going to proceed with it. So we'll start off, and as we go through this, if you have any questions, just click on your mic and ask, or you can wait till the end, and we'll see what kind of questions we have and go from there. The ARCA cabinet was developed in Europe by our head company in Finland for the European marketplace, and it was designed for one reason and one reason only: to go after the steel market there. Rittal and Eldon and Hoffman and Alton and all the guys that everybody knows that sell steel enclosures. So it was designed to look like a steel box. It was designed to have the features and benefits of a steel box, but offering all of the attributes and solutions that polycarbonate has over top of steel. So that's where the impetus for this product came from. It's actually been a very, very successful enclosure in Europe. We brought it in here in the beginning, and I'll be quite honest with you, upfront with you about it. We brought it in the beginning because the factory told us you need to start selling some of this. We said, okay, we'll take some of it. And I was the one that said, I don't believe we're going to sell a lot of it. And it's been very well accepted over here in the U.S. and very well received. And it's growing at an unbelievably rapid rate. So I guess the story there is, if you're not selling it, you're one of the few that's not, because a lot of people are selling it and they're making money on it, and it's an opportunity for everybody. We always want to have something new to talk to the customer about. Here's an opportunity for that. All right, so let's get into this right now. Hold on one second. Let me get onto the page here. All right, so the ARCA series. It ranges from a 12 by 8, and I'm rounding this up, obviously, roughly from 12 by 8 to a 32 by 24. The 32 by 24 is the largest size enclosure that we sell. All of those are available in either portrait style or landscape style, which we'll get into a little bit later on. But so now we've got a 32 by 24 that you can do in a landscape style. Not a lot of non-metallic enclosures out there that can do that. Okay, they're all rated at UL Type 4, 4X, 12 and 13. Of course, it's got an IP rating, IP66 rating on it. But so it's an extremely well-built enclosure. It's got an IK rating, impact rating of IK10. If you don't know what that is, we can share that with you later. But it actually means it can take a pretty big beating. It's the same polycarbonate material that we mold all the rest of our enclosures out of. So the strength and the ruggedness and the impact resistance, and the UV resistance that it has. But it has some features, it has some attributes and some solutions built into it that you may not be familiar with a non-metallic enclosure. A lot of the accessories and some of the things that the enclosure has built into it are based on what the metal market already offers out there, so the people that are used to using metal enclosures will be familiar with some of the accessories and some of the features. But it also gives us an opportunity to do things that the metal enclosures can't do. For instance, mounting pods. There are mounting pods in the bottom. Nothing surprising about that. But we have mounting pods on the sides, and if you look at it, you can see the mounting pods up on the sides over here. Those we've seen those used for everything from din rails People run a little frame down there and put a DIN rail in there, all the way to mounting PC cards on there, to mounting terminal blocks, a whole bunch of different stuff. It allows you to much more versatility than you have with a metal box and with any fiberglass enclosure that's out there. Much more versatility. The mounting pods are they're the typical mounting pods that you've seen in the Fibox enclosures with a thread forming screw that goes into it. There are no inserts in it. Obviously, as an option, if you wanted to, we could put some inserts in there for you, but it comes straight out of the box as a mounting pod, which is typical with a thread cutting or thread forming screw, whichever one you're used to using. So that gives you a lot of versatility, the ability to configure this thing any way the customer wants without having to get into welding of pods or welding of stanchions or any of that kind of stuff that goes along with it. So that gives you more flexibility than a steel enclosure would normally give you. The double corner that you see here, what they call a double corner right here, is actually serves a couple purposes. One of which is it gives the appearance of that the metal boxes are used to showing. The metal boxes have a lot of that double corner stuff in it, but it also, and one of the most important things it does is it takes the mounting hole for the mounting feet, which is right here, and it takes it outside of the gasketed area. This is the knife edge right here that the gasket rests on. So this mounting hole is outside the gasketed area, so you can drill straight, if you wanted to, put a Tapcon in there and hold it against the wall, or however you want to do it, or attach the mounting feet that you can buy. They're optional with this enclosure. And again, it's outside the gasketed area, so you don't have to worry about affecting the ingress rating on the enclosure, because you want to mount it a certain way with a pole mount, or just screw it into the wall, or whatever, however you want to do it. We've all seen it done 800 different ways by people out in the field. So it's this picture here also shows a little bit of the double corner. I don't know how well you can see that, but it gives it a nice appearance to it. It gives it a lot of strength. One of the biggest problems, if you will, with the large fiberglass enclosures is shipping them. And when they get shipped and they get bounced around, historically these corners get broken because the box gets bounced on the corner from when UPS or somebody is handling it. So this being polycarbonate, A, won't do that, and B, that double corner gives you a much needed extra strength, so that if it does get bounced around like that, you don't have any concerns about it. Even when it's loaded with components and there's 20 or 30 pounds in there, corner will not break on that. I'm not going to tell you it's not breakable. I'm just going to tell you that corner will not break, but under normal circumstances. So what makes the IEC, what makes the ARCA a Fibox? Okay. First and foremost, it's the polycarbonate that we use, which is, we all know the advantages of the polycarbonate: rust-free, lightweight, in that it doesn't take two people to hold the 32 by 24 up. A single man can hold a 32 by 24 up and mount it on the wall if he wanted to. Easily modified. You don't need special tools. If we don't cut the holes in it for you here on our CNC machines, and the customer doesn't have that capability, they can just drill holes in it with a typical DeWalt drill. Nothing special about it. So it's really easily modified, especially out in the field if they need to bring another cable in. All these are all the attributes and the solutions that you guys are familiar with out in the field with all our standard Fibox enclosures. And this polycarbonate is no different. It brings all that to it in a new and exciting enclosure. Wi-Fi friendly thermoplastic, so the plastic does not impede the signal whatsoever. Every one of us, especially in these times, in these challenging times, everybody is understanding the benefits of Wi-Fi now. Everybody's remote working or remote conferencing or doing all that kind of stuff. The ability to take this thing and just stick your router in it, or a repeater, or whatever else, what other Wi-Fi equipment you might need, is great, because you don't have to worry about is it going to impede the signal? Do I have to do something? Do I have to put an external antenna on it? Any of those things. You don't need to do any of that. You can leave the antenna inside of it. Most of you have heard me talk about that before as a selling point. Do not underestimate that selling point to a customer. that the antenna can be mounted internally and does not have to be an external antenna, simply for the fact that if it's got an external antenna on it and it's hanging up on a pole, some idiot goes walking by and sees the antenna, knows there's electronics in there, and let's see what the heck what this is, and messes around with it. If it's just a box up on the pole with no antenna to it at all, he just walks right on by and keeps moving. For the most part, they just don't pay attention to it. The polycarbonate also is the high impact resistant and the UV resistance. The impact resistance is easily, we have tests for that. UL has tests for it, all that stuff. We have certification for all that. The UV resistance used to be just, well, it was an F1 plastic that UL said it was an F1 plastic, but in the last couple years, in our doing business with the renewable energy field, specifically the solar field, that wasn't good enough for them. They wanted something that was quantifiable, and it was third party, done by a third party where we had no control over what was the outcome of it. We have that now. We have one of the plastic manufacturers ran a UV accelerated aging test on the polycarbonate that we use. And we won't go through all the information on that, but what it really came down to was they did accelerated aging, replicating Arizona and Florida, which is standard procedure for doing that, and they ran it up to 25 years. What was equivalent to be 25 years of accelerated aging with no mechanical degradation whatsoever. There was a slight color change, but no mechanical degradation whatsoever. So we have quantifiable, verifiable, and third-party testing data that we can share with you that you can answer that UV resistance question to anybody that might ask that. We have a short little one-page flyer that goes a little bit over it. I also have a 4-page PDF that I can share with you that you can show to your customers. If you want that, you can reach out to me or your regional sales guy at a future date, and he can give you that information. But so all of that, the impact and the UV resistance, which are the real big factors with polycarbonate versus steel, and the rust as well. All of those have been certified and verified, so we're good to go there. Obviously, they're all everything we do is UL listed. This is 4X 12 and 13. The formed in place gasket, or the FIP gasket, if you will, which is the polyurethane based material. It's the same material that we use in all of our other Fibox enclosures. The difference being this gasket, because of the size of most of these enclosures, and because they're all hinged, the gasket is significantly more volume than what you're used to seeing in an ARCA JIC or one of the FOP products. And that was done for a number of reasons. Number one reason was because the cover is a swing cover, and the landscape version, the covers have a tendency to, you have a lot of leverage when you have that thing wide open and you're pulling it back in. It was just to guarantee a real good gasket knife edge interface and make sure that it would seal. The formed in place gasket really just it's been a game changer in the industry, which is why everybody else has gone to it. But it's something that in the non-metallic enclosures, it's where we are head and shoulders above the steel for the most part. Ours all sits in a trough, or a gasket groove is what they call it. The technical term for it, the industry term, is a gasket groove, so that it keeps the gasket stationary even during times of pressure changes, or when the cover is moved slightly, or there's some kind of vibration. Everybody has seen the steel enclosures where this FIP polyurethane is just laid down on a flat surface, and then the cover, either the cover or the base, whichever it is, seals up against it to give you the seal. That's all well and good unless you have a significant pressure change, i.e. out in Texas when it's 110 degrees and then a storm comes rolling in and the temperature goes down to 80 degrees. So now you've got a significant pressure change difference between the internal air and the external atmosphere. And it's going to cause that gasket in the metal box to move, and it will roll slightly. and it can miss its seal. That's why they usually put it on there a half an inch thick or so that it won't roll so much so that it breaks the seal. There's no concern of that whatsoever with the ARCA because it's in a groove and it's held in position at that point. That's a point that needs to be written down and talked about a lot because it's a big engineering point, a point of sale. A lot of you who know me and have worked with me for a while have heard me say this before. Any monkey can mold a plastic box. It takes no brains at all to mold a plastic box. The engineering that comes in with the knife edge and the gasket interface. That's where all the black magic and the engineering is. And this is a key component when selling up against a steel box or a stainless steel box or whatever it is that has just a gasket applied to a flat surface. There is an opportunity for ingress when you have major temperature, major pressure changes in the atmosphere. Okay. The molded in place mounting pods for the back panels and din rails, those are all the typical ones you're used to seeing. But again, we have them also on the sides of the enclosure, so it gives you more opportunities to mount things which can either reduce the size of the enclosure or spread components around to reduce the heat in specific areas. They also have the mounting pods on the underside of the covers, which is a huge deal for a lot of people where they can put their PC cards or something up on top of the cover, and it just gets it out of the way of all the rest of the components and the guy with a big screwdriver down inside the box. The adjustable depth back panels and swing panel. There's a swing panel and dead front panels with lockable inner doors. The lockable inner door will show it. You'll see it in a little bit. Is a pretty slick little item. Takes no tools at all to install it. It gives you a frame with a lock on it. A beautiful when it's snapped in place. It gives you a beautiful appearance, and it's significantly built so that it can hold e-stops and controllers and anything else you want to put on the item. We talked about the dimensions, which is the real big news here is the larger sizes, the 700 by 500 and the 800 by 600 large, which is 32 by 24. So it gives you some areas to talk with some of the larger metal boxes so that you can compete there. It's like everything else. If we make a 32 by 24, everybody wants a 48 by 24 or 40. We're not there yet, and it's some of that is a limitation of the technology of being able to injection mold that larger size. Some of it is you start creeping into those marketplaces, and you can't go just halfway. You got to go all the way in, and we're just not there yet. It's not on our radar right this second. So 32 by 24 is the largest we're going to make at the present time. This enclosure gives you a real alternative to somebody buying a metal box. If you got somebody, and a lot of you guys do sell metal enclosures, and I'm well aware of that. But this gives you an opportunity to somebody that maybe is using somebody else's metal box, is not willing to switch just to go to another metal box. This gives you an opportunity to talk to them. This just gives you we put this in here because this whole presentation is something that you can download. We can get to you so you can have it in your laptop, or you can print it out and have it so it's something you can work off of while you're talking to the customer. And I wanted to make sure we had all the sizes in there so that was quickly, something you could quickly go turn to answer questions for the customer. But as you can see, it's a pretty significant number of enclosures. Both, there's 5 sizes, but you have landscape version and portrait version. So it gives you a bunch of different options to go along with it. Why polycarbonate? Well, I have tunnel vision because that's all we sell is polycarbonate, but not everybody does that. What's important with the polycarbonate? Well, you don't get the blooming like you do like it's shown on this fiberglass box. It's probably been out there for a year or so, and it's starting to delaminate. That won't happen with the polycarbonate material. That fiberglass delaminates and it looks nasty. Gets all over people's hands. It weakens the enclosure. It's just it's not a good thing. And this is the guy's final product right here with his name on the box. Who wants a name on the box that looks like that? I mean, that's just it'd be like buying a pack of Oreos that's over the top where the thing is all beat up. It just doesn't make sense. Also in the metal enclosure, the most obvious one is the steel, the rust against the steel enclosures. You know, if it rusts enough, it'll just disintegrate right there on the pole. Everybody has seen the metal boxes that have disintegrated to where nothing's left of it. You know, where you get a situation like this where it's gotten so bad it's fallen off of the excuse me, the mounting components, and then you got to wire it up like that. The ARCA gives you the opportunity to give you a great presentation, and then it gives you peace of mind that you can put it out in the field and it'll last for a very, very, very long time with no degradation and no worry about mechanical failure. Some of the more important features, the door opening at 120 degrees, both vertical and both horizontal and vertical, or portrait and landscape, whichever way you want to talk about it. This is important for panel builders or for guys that are building, that are building panels in their own shops. The door opens all the way, so the door is not in your way. Number one. Number two, there's no overhang in the enclosure, so you can drop your panel straight in, enabling you to use a larger panel to begin with, and you don't have to angle it to get it in there like you do in some of the larger metal boxes. It just gives you the opportunity to build it quicker, save more time, and get more work done with an enclosure that's going to give you a higher quality, higher performance. The preform mounting pods on the underside of the cover, we talked about those. We've already had a number of people that have used the aluminum panels and mounted them in there to mount equipment on the underside of the cover. It's a sharp looking system when it's done. There's a picture in here a little bit later on, I think, that shows it. Right now we're offering the gray cover. Right now we do have a window as it shows down here, but right now we don't have the window. We've got when they built the window over in Europe, we got some problems with UL over here approving the window. So we're pretty close. So I would say in the next, well, depending on what happens with all this stuff that's going on with COVID-19, in the next 3 or 4 months, we'll probably have the opportunity to have the glass window. It is a glued-in window. It is not a completely transparent window or cover like you're used to with the ARCA JIC or the FOP product line, but it's typical for that style enclosure, especially in the metal industry. The internal hinge, they took a page out of the Fibox out of the ARCA JIC and made the hinge so that it's two small little hinges like that in the enclosure, can be field changed with just the use of a screwdriver to pry the tab open. So you can make it in the field a left-hand opening or a right-hand opening. Why is that important? Well, you can put two enclosures side by side and open them like a double door cabinet, and that can be done in the field if it needs to be done. Real easily done. What you cannot do is in the field go from a portrait style window door to a landscape style. That does not happen. The covers are molded specifically to be either portrait style or landscape style. The reinforced ribbing on the underside of the cover gives it incredible strength and rigidity, so you don't have to worry about a customer grabbing it and telling you it's flimsy. That's not an issue with that. Here's a picture down here of the gasket and how substantial it is compared to what you're used to seeing. It just gives it a much better sealing surface to go along with it. Again, the quick and easy, the corners, the double corner, which gives you the wall mounting without degrading. You can attach it there. All the different mounting pods. There are capabilities to put these call them ladders or din rail frames or back panel adjustable back panel kits in here. Slides right in, hooks on the bottom here, screws into the top. Not a big deal. The din rail frame, the beauty of that is all of these are, and you'll see this in this video I'm going to show you real quickly. All of those are designed to be populated outside the enclosure and then dropped in, and you just attach 4 screws to it, and it's good to go. So it saves a lot of time for panel builders. We have locks, multiple different lock options. We have the quarter turn locks, and you can put an insert in there, everything from just a screwdriver to 3mm double bit to a triangular head, anything that you've seen with those inserts in the quarter turn locks. We also have swing handles that are available in the larger sizes. So it's a 2-point swing handle. It is not a 3-point locking system. It's a 2-point locking system. The mounting plates are available in steel, in galvanized steel, aluminum, and in plastic, polycarbonate plastic. Let me move along here real quick. So I know I told you I wanted to keep it under. The wall mounting options, these are steel painted mounting feet. They come in 2 different styles. This one, which stands the box 10mm off of the wall, no big deal, half an inch. You can also get it where it stands the enclosure 40mm off the wall, which is more than a little bit less than 2 inches, about 1.5 inches. So you could run wires behind the enclosure if you wanted to. Pole mount kit, the same pole mount kit that we use for the ARCA JIC it works here on this one. So it's something that's substantial. It's all stainless steel. It's easy to install. There's not a whole lot of parts to it. And the bands, or the typical band is 4 to 12 inches. You can get a larger band, which will do up to, I think, 22 inches. So we can cover all those bases. This is a little bit of this is a video that I want to show you real quick. It takes just a couple minutes, but it gives you a rundown of all of the different options this you can see can. This shows Okay. All right. So let me show you real quick. I'm going to show you some examples of some applications that we have out there, and then if you have any questions, we'll take those. Um, this is just some real quick applications. Here's an opportunity. There's a picture of the door that we're talking about with a bunch of controllers on it. It's a really a beautiful little system that snaps in there, and just snaps in and gives you a finished look as soon as you're done with it. There's no cutting of it. There's no tools required. I think that's it. So that's it for what we have. This system, this presentation is available to you, as is the video that showed the animation. That's available by itself. You can either talk to Carl Marchese, the marketing person, or talk to your regional sales manager, or to myself. Either way, we can get this to you. And so, that's what kind of the idea, to get you started, help you through, work your way through getting these things out there. Like I said earlier, if you're not selling this, you're one of the few people that's not in the Fibox family, because it's being sold and it's being accepted universally around the area. So, any questions anybody has, you can turn your mic on and ask me, or you can email me at a future date, whatever's easiest. I kind of went 2 minutes over, and I apologize for that. Any questions?